All right, let's cut the crap and dive right into this Zigbee shit.
Mhm.
Everyone's got these smart home gadgets these days, and apparently the Zigbee thing is behind a lot of it.
Yeah, Zigbee's like the behind-the-scenes puppet master, making your lights dance and your thermostat know when your ass is home.
So, is it just another one of those tech buzzwords that'll be dead in a year? Or is this shit for real?
Nah, Zigbee's been around for a while. It's not some flash-in-the-pan bullshit. It's all about low-power, short-range communication between devices. Think of it like a private chat room for your smart gadgets.
Okay, but why the hell should I care? My brain's already overloaded with Wi-Fi passwords and Bluetooth pairing issues.
Because Zigbee's different, man. It's built for efficiency. Like, your smart lights could stay lit for fucking years without draining your battery.
It's yours. Okay, now you've got my attention. But how is the Zigbee thing different from Wi-Fi and Bluetooth? They already give me enough headaches.
Think of it this way. Wi-Fi's like a gas-guzzling Hummer, great for hauling large files but burns through energy like crazy. Bluetooth's more like a city bus, good for short hops with lots of passengers, but slow and limited in range.
So is Zigbee like a bicycle then?
More like a well-organized ant colony, actually. Each Zigbee device has a specific role to play. You've got coordinators, routers, and end devices.
Coordinators, routers.
Yeah.
Sounds like some complicated tech jargon bullshit.
Nah, it's simpler than it sounds. The coordinator's the boss, setting up the network and keeping things organized. The routers help extend the network, like signal boosters, and the end devices are the worker bees, your lights, sensors, and shit.
So it's like a gossipy network of devices whispering secrets to each other.
Pretty much. They create this mesh network, relaying signals to each other and extending the range without sucking down your batteries.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. But let's talk security. Last thing I need is some hacker turning my lights on and off while I'm trying to sleep. That would piss me off.
Yeah, early versions of Zigbee did have some security flaws, but Zigbee 3.0 came along and kicked those vulnerabilities in the nuts.
So you're saying I don't need to worry about some creepy dude hijacking my smart home and spying on me through my toaster?
Unless that creepy dude is living in your walls, you're probably good. Zigbee 3.0 is pretty damn secure.
All right, that's reassuring. So we've got these devices chatting it up. They're sipping power like a grandma at a tea party, and they're not going to get hacked by some basement-dwelling weirdo. What else is there to know about this Zigbee thing?
Well, you need to understand the different types of Zigbee networks. Beacon-enabled and non-beacon-enabled. It's like choosing between a marathon runner and a sprinter.
Hold on, what the hell does that even mean? Are we talking about actual runners now?
Nah, just an analogy. Beacon-enabled networks are all about efficiency. They're slow and steady, perfect for devices that only need to send data occasionally, like your smart thermostat.
So it's just chilling there, waiting for me to tell it to crank up the heat?
Exactly. Non-beacon-enabled networks are more like sprinters. Always on, always listening, ready to respond instantly. Think smart lights that you want to control in real time?
So it's a trade-off between responsiveness and battery life. Got it. Okay, so we've got the basics down. What's the killer app for Zigbee? What's this shit really good at?
Smart lighting. There's this specific Zigbee standard called Zigbee Light Link, which has become the go-to for all those fancy smart bulbs and lighting systems.
Zigbee Light Link, huh? Sounds kind of fancy. What can I actually do with this shit?
Think mood lighting, setting schedules, dimming those lights for a romantic evening, grouping lights together, and you can control it all from your phone.
Okay, now we're talking. I can already imagine myself walking into my apartment and saying, hey, Google, set the mood to Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
That's some futuristic shit right there.
Exactly. And since it's based on Zigbee, it's super reliable and uses very little power. So you can create your own personal light show without worrying about your electricity bill skyrocketing.
All right, this is starting to sound pretty damn appealing. But you mentioned some bullshit about different ecosystems and compatibility issues earlier. What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, that's where things get a little complicated. Even though Zigbee is a standard, there's still a lot of fragmentation in the market. Different manufacturers have implemented it in slightly different ways, creating these ecosystems that don't always play nice together.
So I could end up with a bunch of Zigbee devices that refuse to talk to each other. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it can be a real pain in the ass. It's like trying to get a bunch of toddlers to share their toys. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so we just spent the last chunk of time diving headfirst into this Zigbee thing. And honestly, my brain's a little fried, but we're not done yet, right? We got to unpack this whole compatibility shitstorm you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's the dark underbelly of Zigbee. You see, the standard itself is all about how devices communicate at a low level, like the radio waves and whatnot. But it doesn't really dictate what they say to each other, the actual language of their conversation.
So It's like they all have the same phone line, but they're speaking different fucking dialects.
And
Well, one of them can't get their shit together.
bingo! You can have a Philips Hue light bulb over here speaking fluent Dutch, and a Samsung SmartThings hub over there struggling with its Korean. They're both technically on the Zigbee network, but they're talking past each other.
Okay, that's just fucked up. So how the hell am I supposed to know which devices will actually play nice before I drop a wad of cash on a smart home setup? I don't need another reason to be pissed off.
Sadly, there's no easy answer. The best advice is to do your research, check product specs, look for compatibility lists, and pray to the tech gods. But seriously, user reviews are your friend here. People will bitch online if shit doesn't work, trust me.
So basically, it's a crapshoot. I love that. All this talk about a smart home, and it sounds like I need a PhD in electrical engineering just to get my lights to turn on.
It's not quite that bad, but yeah, there's definitely a learning curve. And to make things even more confusing, you've got these different ecosystems we talked about. Think of them like walled gardens, where each company tries to keep you locked into their own little world of products and services.
Ah, the classic corporate bullshit. Create a problem and then sell the solution. Who are the major players in this Zigbee game anyway?
You've got the usual suspects, Philips Hue with their fancy lighting systems, Amazon with their Echo devices, Samsung with SmartThings, and of course, Google with their Nest stuff. Each one has its own platform, its own set of compatible devices, and its own way of doing things.
So it's like choosing a side in a gang war. Once I commit to one ecosystem, there's no turning back.
Not always, thankfully. Some devices are compatible with multiple platforms, and there are these things called bridges and hubs that can act as translators between different ecosystems. But it's not always smooth sailing, and you might end up with some weird glitches or limitations.
This whole thing is starting to sound like a headache waiting to happen. Is there any hope for us regular folks who just want our homes to be a little smarter without having to become tech wizards?
There is a glimmer of hope on the horizon. You might have heard of this new standard called Matter. It's basically a big kumbaya moment for the smart home industry, where everyone's trying to agree on a common language for all their devices.
Matter, huh? Sounds like some hippy-dippy bullshit. But if it means I can finally mix and match my Zigbee devices without worrying about compatibility issues, sign me up.
It's still early days, but Matter has a lot of potential. It's like the United Nations of smart home tech, trying to bring peace and harmony to a world of fragmented ecosystems.
Okay, I'm cautiously optimistic. But let's not get too distracted by this Matter thing just yet. We're supposed to be deep diving into Zigbee, and I still have a ton of questions. Like, you mentioned earlier that Zigbee is being used in industrial settings. What the hell does that even mean?
It means that Zigbee is quietly powering a lot of the critical infrastructure that keeps our modern world running. Think factories, warehouses, power plants, even traffic lights. They all rely on wireless communication for monitoring and control, and Zigbee is perfect for the job.
Hold up, you're telling me that my morning commute could be controlled by a bunch of tiny Zigbee devices chatting it up? That's kind of freaky.
It is pretty wild when you think about it, but Zigbee is perfect for these applications because it's reliable, it sips power like a grandma at a tea party, and it can cover large areas with a mesh network. No more tangled wires and tripping hazards.
All right, that makes sense. Less chaos in the factory is always a good thing. But what about hospitals? You mentioned Zigbee being used for medical device data collection. Is that some sci-fi shit or is it actually happening?
Oh, it's definitely happening, and it's pretty mind-blowing. Imagine tiny sensors implanted in patients, wirelessly transmitting vital signs to doctors and nurses in real time. No more being tethered to a million wires in the hospital bed.
So instead of looking like a cyborg from a bad 80s movie, I could be chilling with a Zigbee-powered implant that's quietly beaming my heartbeat to the nurse's station. That's some next-level shit right there.
Exactly. It's still in its early stages, but the potential for remote patient monitoring and personalized healthcare is huge.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We've got factories, hospitals, smart homes. What else is this Zigbee thing capable of? Is there anything it can't do?
Well, it's not magic. It's still limited by its low bandwidth and short range, but within those constraints, it's incredibly versatile.
So, no Zigbee-powered spaceships or teleportation devices anytime soon.
Damn, not yet. But who knows what the future holds. For now, let's stick to the real-world applications. Besides the stuff we've already talked about, you've got things like wireless microphone configuration, remote controls, even smart toys.
Wait, hold up. You're telling me that my kid's talking teddy bear could be powered by Zigbee? That's both adorable and kind of creepy.
It's possible. Zigbee is so versatile, it can be used in all sorts of unexpected places.
All right, I'm officially sold. Zigbee is way more badass than I initially thought. It's like the silent hero of the tech world, quietly making our lives easier and more connected.
And we've only scratched the surface. There's a whole world of Zigbee applications out there just waiting to be explored.
Well, let's do it. Bring on the knowledge bombs.
Oh.
Okay, so my brain's still kind of fried from all this Zigbee talk, but I think it's starting to sink in. This shit's way more complex than I thought.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with Zigbee. It's not just about smart lights and thermostats.
Right. We've gone deep on the whole beehive structure of the network, the coordinators, routers, and all that jazz. And we've definitely had a good laugh at the compatibility clusterfuck that is the Zigbee ecosystem.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. But hey, at least we learned a lot about different platforms and the challenges of getting all these devices to play nice together.
And who could forget the mind-blowing applications of Zigbee? It's not just making our homes smarter. It's running factories, hospitals, and even powering our kids' toys.
It's pretty wild when you think about it. This low-power mesh networking technology is quietly shaping our world in ways we never imagined.
So what's the bottom line here? What should our listeners take away from this Zigbee deep dive?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Zigbee is a powerful and versatile technology with a lot of potential. But it's not a silver bullet. There are definitely some challenges to consider, especially when it comes to compatibility.
Yeah, compatibility is key. Do your research, people, and choose your devices wisely. Otherwise, you'll end up with a smart home that's dumber than a box of rocks.
Exactly. And keep an eye on Matter. If it can deliver on its promise, it could be a game changer for the smart home industry.
Fingers crossed for that. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our Zigbee deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, learned a ton of shit, and hopefully had some laughs along the way.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, stay curious and don't be afraid to explore the fascinating world of tech.
Peace out, everyone.